Henry Ford didn't invent the car. He invented a way to force the entire world to respect work over words. While other industrialists bragged in velvet chairs, Ford rolled up his sleeves and got grease under his nails. He didn't care for long meetings, fancy suits, or polished speeches. He cared that every bolt was tighter, every process faster, every minute saved. If you couldn't keep up, you didn't get a warning. You got replaced. Most people today want to be heard. Ford wanted results that spoke louder than any speech. To him, talk was cheap, time was gold, and gold was meant to fuel more production, not more gossip. He built an empire on the simple truth that factories don't run on opinions. They run on sweat, repetition, and relentless improvements that don't need a microphone to be noticed. His attitude was brutal. He didn't care if you liked him. He cared if you delivered. Workers respected him out of fear and pride at the same time. Investors trusted him because he made more money than he spent on nonsense. Competitors hated him because while they printed slogans, Ford printed Model Ts that every man on the street could afford. He turned luxury into utility and chatter into profit. In this video, forget feel-good motivation. This is Ford's gospel. Shut your mouth, sharpen your hands, and fix what you complain about. He didn't have patience for talkers, whiners, or philosophers who never picked up a wrench. He had one religion: get it done, then do it better tomorrow. If you couldn't understand that, you were free to leave and watch someone else drive your dreams away. So sit back or stand up. Ford wouldn't care either way. But listen carefully. These lessons won't stroke your ego. They'll punch it. Because Henry Ford didn't build a brand. He built a culture that still roars on roads a century later, all because he knew one timeless truth: work first, talk never. Lesson 1. The world is a workshop, not a stage. Henry Ford believed life was simple. It's a giant workshop where every problem has a tool, every excuse has a cost, and every loud mouth distracts from real progress. He hated stages, hated ceremonies, hated long speeches that wasted hours, better spent tightening a single bolt. While other tycoons posed for newspapers, Ford walked the factory floor, eyes on engines, ears on workers who actually did the work. He knew one harsh truth: talkers are easy to replace, builders are priceless. He didn't want employees who could charm a crowd. He wanted men and women who could find the flaw in a gearbox faster than they found the flaw in each other. To him, fame was worthless if it didn't produce one more car before sunset. Reputation meant nothing without production backing every brag. In his factory, silence was a hymn. Machines humming, tools clanking, sweat dripping. That was Ford's favorite symphony. A worker who whispered ideas while assembling parts was worth more than a manager who gave a 2-hour presentation with 0 solutions. If you spoke too much and built too little, Ford didn't argue. He showed you the exit. He proved to the world that glory belongs to those who stay dirty while others stay dramatic. He showed that you don't need spotlights when your product changes how people live, travel, and dream. His assembly lines didn't care about opinions, only about precision and speed. He made America understand the world doesn't pay you to impress it. It pays you to solve its problems better than the next guy. So next time you want applause, remember Ford's ghost rolling his eyes at your monologue. Shut up. Pick up the wrench. Fix something no one else wants to touch. Let your results roar so loud they drown out every critic. Ford didn't preach to followers. He demanded co-builders, people who prove daily that a workshop beats a stage every single time. Lesson 2. Fix problems while others complain. Henry Ford despised complainers. In his mind, every minute spent whining was a minute stolen from building a solution. He hired people who rolled up sleeves before they opened their mouths. If a machine jammed, Ford didn't want excuses. He wanted someone under the hood, wrench in hand, covered in grease, before the gossip even spread through the plant. In Ford's world, complaints were evidence you hadn't earned your paycheck yet. Problems were not roadblocks, they were blueprints for improvement. If a production line slowed down, he didn't write a memo about it. He redesigned the parts. If workers struggled, he didn't deliver motivational speeches. He improved conditions so their hands and minds could work faster, cleaner, smarter. He understood one law: problems ignored grow teeth. Problems faced turn into profit. Stories say that once, an engineer told Ford a flaw was impossible to fix without months of research. Ford fired him and fixed it in days, not because he was magic, but because he refused to overthink what needed to be done now. He taught everyone under his command: stop waiting for the perfect plan, test, tweak, break, rebuild, repeat, until it works better than last week. Most people today romanticize failure. Ford didn't. He saw failure as an unpaid invoice for laziness. To him, every breakdown was just a sign the mind hadn't worked hard enough yet. So he pushed people until they either evolved or quit. He didn't want heroes, he wanted problem solvers who hated excuses more than they feared mistakes. So next time you catch yourself grumbling about what's unfair or broken, remember Ford wouldn't waste a single word on your pity party. He'd toss you a toolbox and expect silence until the thing works again. Complainers fill lunchrooms, fixers build empires. Ford bet his fortune on the latter, and he won, while the loud ones faded with yesterday's news. Lesson 3. Simplify until it hurts. Henry Ford saw complexity as an insult to intelligence. He believed that if something was too complicated, it was badly designed. Period. In his eyes, every extra step, every extra bolt, every unnecessary explanation was wasted time, wasted money, and an invitation for errors to breed like rats in the basement of a factory no one cleaned. Simplicity wasn't elegance for him. It was survival and dominance. His obsession for simplicity birthed the assembly line. A miracle back then, a standard now. Before Ford, cars were luxuries for the elite, assembled like fine art, slow and delicate. Ford ripped the silk off the process and turned it into steel, repeatable, predictable, unstoppable. He cut tasks into the smallest possible motions, trained workers to master each flick of the wrist, and dropped production costs until every American dreamed of owning a car with their own paycheck. Engineers would present him with elaborate designs, proud of their genius. Ford would glare, slash half the parts, and ask, "Why do you make this harder than it needs to be?" For him, genius was not adding features. It was deleting clutter until only the bare bones of function remained, polished to perfection. He didn't want a complex machine. He wanted a bulletproof one, cheap enough that no one could compete, and simple enough that it never betrayed the owner. This mindset didn't just build cars, it built a culture. Meetings were shorter, instructions clearer, mistakes rarer because there were fewer chances to screw up. Simplicity made Ford's empire scalable. While rivals drowned in fancy models and constant redesigns, Ford's Model T rolled out identical, reliable, and so simple to fix that a farmer could do it with basic tools. Want to think like Ford? Before you add, ask what you can remove. Before you complicate, ask what you can clarify. Before you brag about a clever idea, check if a simple one can crush it cheaper and faster. Ford knew every extra piece was a ticking time bomb for profit loss. So he stripped every process naked and built an empire on the skeleton that remained. It hurt the pride of engineers, but it fattened the pocket of the man who dared to keep things brutally simple. Lesson 4. Success loves silence. Henry Ford understood something modern entrepreneurs often forget. Real success is quiet. It doesn't shout its plans, doesn't flash its money, and never warns its enemies. Ford didn't flood newspapers bragging about profits. He let the roar of his engines echo through the streets instead. Every Model T on the road was an advertisement money couldn't buy and words couldn't top, while his competitors spent fortunes polishing their reputations and delivering grand speeches at banquets. Ford stood in his factories, sleeves rolled, eyes fixed on output per minute. He knew that gossip dies when results speak. A car that runs better, costs less, and sells itself 1,000,000 times over shuts up critics faster than any press release. Ford's silence was his greatest armor. It kept him unpredictable and forced rivals to chase rumors instead of facts. This didn't mean he was passive. Ford moved fiercely behind the curtain, cutting costs, negotiating supply chains, and patenting improvements without broadcasting them. When people asked about new projects, he downplayed them or gave half answers, all while his teams perfected ideas that would hit the market before competitors could react. He believed, the less you reveal, the more control you keep. People today mistake noise for impact. Ford would laugh. To him, talking is leaking power. Silence, on the other hand, is a pressure chamber. When you finally release what you've built, the world feels the blast 10 times stronger because no one saw it coming. His factories grew from a quiet plan executed in secret and defended by relentless work, not slogans. If you want Ford-level influence, stop feeding the world your plans. Starve them with mystery. Let your product, your profit, your relentless consistency do the shouting for you. Silence is not weakness. It's the coiled spring behind every surprise that leaves rivals stunned and the market forever changed. Ford knew. Success loves silence and punishes those who can't shut up and deliver. Tatisul. Lesson 5. Talk less, earn more. Henry Ford didn't become a legend by running his mouth. He became one by shutting it and letting the machines roar for him. While the average man wastes breath explaining dreams he'll never fund, Ford turned every word unsaid into an extra bolt, tightened, an extra dollar saved, an extra car rolling off the line. He knew money doesn't respect chatter. It obeys those who outwork the noise. People begged him for secrets to his fortune. He had none he was willing to share in words, because the secret was work that started before sunrise and didn't care about applause. Ford believed every sentence you speak about your goals steals fuel from the sweat needed to reach them. He taught his managers, never promise what you can't build, and never waste time explaining what your product will explain for you. Investors loved him because he delivered more than he pitched. Workers feared and admired him because he paid better than most, but demanded more than all. He didn't host endless meetings where opinions devoured hours. He made decisions fast, enforced them hard, and used silence as both shield and sword. If you wanted to impress Ford, you didn't flatter him. You improved the line, cut costs, or proved a new idea on the floor, not the conference table. Modern entrepreneurs flood the internet with promises. Ford would snort at that circus. He'd say, when your bank account talks louder than your lips, you don't need to beg anyone to listen. His wealth was built on under-promising and over-delivering so brutally that by the time competitors caught up, he was already redesigning the next generation. Talk invites envy and sabotage. Profit born in silence is almost unstoppable. So here's the gospel. The fewer words you spend, the more profit you keep. Build so quietly that the world notices only when it can't look away anymore. Let critics guess, let rivals gossip, while you hammer reality into steel and rubber that pays you forever. Ford proved this. History forgets 1,000 talkers. It worships the silent builder who shut up and worked until the whole planet had no choice but to pay him to keep going. Shut up and work. The only law for results. Henry Ford didn't need a podcast to become immortal. He didn't need a stage, a hashtag, or a daily motivational quote. He needed oil, steel, and sweat, and he demanded more of those three than any competitor dared to match. While the world wasted decades talking about progress, Ford mass-produced it, sold it, and drove it through every street until even his worst critics had to admit the man who worked silently owned the noise. Today, people crave recognition for intentions. Ford only respected what was built, sold, and improved, nothing more. He didn't apologize for being harsh. He didn't soften his standards to protect feelings. He raised the bar so high that the lazy quit and the worthy thrived. And in that forge of work, he minted wealth, influence, and a legacy that still humbles every wannabe visionary who thinks success can be faked with slogans. This is your reminder. Next time you feel the urge to talk about your plans, bite your tongue and build them instead. Next time you want applause, remember Ford's cold eyes staring back, unimpressed. He didn't care about your excuses or your status. He cared about the bolt, the line, the wheel, the delivery date. Talk less, earn more. Repeat until the world has no choice but to pay attention, not to your words, but to your results. Most people won't get this. They'll nod, share, then talk even more. Let them. You, the rare one, shut up and work. Take Ford's ghost as your mentor. Make your silence louder than 1,000 promises. And when you're rich, free, and miles ahead, look back just once. Not to brag, but to remember who you used to be before you had the discipline to ignore your own excuses. The road ahead doesn't care if you're ready. It cares if you can keep moving while everyone else is busy explaining why they're stuck. So close this video, open your tools, and prove Ford right. The future belongs to the builder who never stops working and never wastes breath trying to look impressive.